1.
Hello everybody and welcome to our 14th installment of Inside GWM. My name is Luke Huysmans, I'm your host and it is great to have you all joining us here today. This event is like front row access to the world of GWM. Whether you're already part of the GWM family, maybe you're eyeing up purchasing your first ever GWM, or you're part of our bigger, broader dealer network, we know you're going to get something out of today's event. Since we're live, it is also the perfect opportunity to have your questions answered by our experts joining us today. So if you've got a question about any of the content we're discussing or just a question about GWM in general, please post it up now, don't delay, in a comment below, and we're going to get to as many of them as we can a little later on in our Q&A session. And to further that, to give you a little more incentive to post up a question, the team at GWM are going to be finding their best three, and they're going to be giving away these amazing Tank 500 models to their favorite three questions. So if you want to score one of these, and they're pretty detailed, you're not going to be able to see, but the doors open up, you can, well, if you had fingernails, you'd be able to open the door and see the steering wheel and the dash. These things are very cool. So post up your question now and we'll get to answering as many of them as we can a little later on in the Q&A session. Now, before we begin, I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're broadcasting from today and pay my respects to elders past and present. Let's get underway. This time last year, we actually did a live broadcast from the peninsula powered entirely by the Canon Alpha with its V2L capability. And tonight, we're actually doing that all again. The setting is a little bit different, but it is all being powered by our director's very own Canon Alpha. Some of you may have seen that on one of our last Inside GWM episodes. Now, today we're focusing all on GWM and their Hi4 and Hi4-T technology, what it is, how it works, and why it is so important in the future of GWM's products. And to help me explain what it is and what it does, today we're going to welcome back two very familiar GWM Australia and New Zealand faces. It's the Head of Marketing and Communications, Steve Maciver, and Product Planning Manager, Tim Leong. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Inside GWM.
Great to be back, Luke, and fantastic to see everyone again. It's been a couple of months since our Tech Day live stream, but yeah, we're delighted to be back.
Tim, you've got plenty of time to be joining us here today. You're not busy at the moment at all, are you?
Not at all, not at all. Plenty of product planning to be doing and a lot of background stuff we're working on, obviously. It's always moving in GWM, and you guys will know very soon about all of our products that we're looking at launching, in 2026, as well in both Hi4, Hi4-T, and maybe even Hi4Z, who knows?
Well, there's so much movement and so much momentum. Steve, can you tell us about the incredible sales momentum that you're experiencing at the moment?
Yeah, I can, and obviously Tim alluded to the fact that things have been pretty busy. It's been another huge year for GWM, a massive year in terms of sales results. Certainly here within Australia, we're on record pace. Our market growth is over 20% in a market that's relatively flat, so we're building market share. We're on track to finish the year. We said this at the start of the year. We said we'd finish the year, and we were aiming for a sales result in excess of 50,000 units. We're pretty confident now that's going to happen as we sit here getting towards the end of November.
Well done.
It will be. It's a team effort. It's, again, courtesy of an amazing product lineup, fantastic technology, a growing, really engaged professional dealer network, great staff, but it's been a team effort all round. But certainly, this will be another record year for GWM Down Under. And again, we're only getting started. We're number 7 year to date, We hope to finish the year number 7. We're certainly sitting, as we stand here today, the number 1 Chinese brand, but this is just one of the stages on the climb that we have to become a top 5 brand and beyond.
Well, and part of that is the product and the technology that you guys are offering and how varied it is to your customers. You highlighted a lot of that last month at the GWM Tech Day. Now, maybe some people tuning in tonight don't know what Tech Day is or missed it. Can you tell us about what it was, why you did it, and why it was so important to GWM?
GWM Tech Day was an event that we held here in Melbourne at the start of October. And it was by far the biggest event that GWM has ever run and held down under. In fact, the journalist colleagues that we speak to probably reckon that for them it was probably the event of the year in terms of scale and the way that we presented. Now, the purpose of GWM Tech Day was ultimately to provide a showcase of our amazing Hi4, Hi4-T technology, to talk about the plans that we have as a brand to grow, to gain market share, to gain more appeal from the Australian and New Zealand customer base, which is extremely important to us. And ultimately it was a 3-day event. So first day we held, all our dealers and our investors came in and we gave them a drive experience of some of the great products that we can see behind us here today, to experience Hi4 and Hi4-T both on road and off. And we held that down at Lang Lang, which of course is GWM's local base for ride and handling and engineering. The second day was what we might call the main event. We had a number of very senior executives who very kindly made the trip from China to come and join us, to paint the picture again for our media, our dealers, our investors, and our staff around the scale, the ambition, the R&D, the engineering that sits behind GWM at a global scale, and ultimately helping us relate that as to the products and the plans that we have here to grow the brand here down under. Day 3 was again back down to Lang Lang, where we had a number of journalists from Australia, New Zealand, China, Russia, and I think Malaysia, I think was the 5th market there. And again, they all got the ability and the chance to drive our amazing Hi4 and Hi4-T technology, not just in some cars that had already driven that had some updates, but equally in some new product which had never been driven outside of China previously. So a huge event, but the ambition was really to state, we're here as a company, we want to do more, we want to show you the expertise and the technological prowess that the brand has and how we're set up for the future.
And I think that sentiment is echoed in the fact that you did have so many high-level head office staff come out from China. And I think that speaks to the importance of the Australian market and GWM in Australia, which is fantastic.
100%. I think it gives context to the importance of Australia and New Zealand in the global positioning of GWM. Now, there are other markets which deliver larger sales volume than Australia, but those other markets have already got on-ground production happening within them. When we look at Australia, Australia is GWM's largest pure export market. So the way in which Australian customers are embracing GWM is like no other. And again, that's the reason that certainly our head office colleagues are taking a great interest in what we're doing here, and to have their support was just amazing.
And Tim, from a product perspective, what did you find so valuable about Tech Day?
For me, the fact that all of our high-level execs were willing to come all the way from China to here, including Nicole, our CTO, it was just very valuable. The fact that they've shared the 3-litre turbo diesel is going to make its global debut in Australia in the Tank 500 as well as the Canon Alpha. That's very exciting news for all of our 4x4 fans here.
And I think just Tim, to that point, what that does show again is the importance of this region strategically to GWM. The fact that Australia is going to be the first market globally to launch an even more powerful, even more capable 3-litre turbo diesel sometime next year is testament to the importance of Australia to GWM globally.
Exactly. And then on top of that, it's just the connection with all these execs, where we were able to discuss product, where we were able to discuss technology, including Hi4, Hi4Z, and obviously Hi4T.
And continue to discuss how busy it means you're going to be next year as well.
Exactly, yes.
Tim's not getting any time off anytime soon.
Well, let's talk about the product that's coming through and why it is such an exciting time to be a part of the GWM family. We've got some amazing product on display and a chassis next to you that we'll touch on in a minute. But can you talk us through what's behind us and what everyone can see happening in the background?
Yep.
Let me talk maybe to some of the products that everyone viewing here tonight might already be familiar with. And over my left shoulder here, of course, is the all-new Haval H6, which is available in petrol, hybrid, and plug-in hybrid. Just launched in recent months, it's beginning to gain even more sales momentum. A hugely important car, not just for us, but for the market here in Australia. The mid-sized SUV segment, as Tim very well knows, is the largest segment in Australia. Now, this car, hugely capable, luxurious, filled with tech. It's a family SUV, but I think you've heard me use this phrase before, it is a wolf in sheep's clothing. The plug-in hybrid variant of this car will accelerate from 0 to 100 k's an hour in just 4.9 seconds. And that's thanks to the all-wheel drive traction that Hi4 delivers. Even when you pull out that electric motor and go into just normal hybrid, so our Haval H6 hybrid all-wheel drive, 4.9 seconds to 100. So
hold on, kids.
Family SUV, great for the school run, but an amazing vehicle as well. So,
am I making this up, or did I see a fuel figure of 1.1 litres per 100 kilometres?
No, that is correct. So imagine, so when the car is charged up and you just drive it in hybrid mode, it will obviously prioritize driving in electric only. And that's how the vehicle was able to achieve such low fuel consumption. The vehicle basically reserves engine power for high-speed driving or highway driving.
And don't forget that the advantage of the plug-in hybrid technology, of which Hi4 and Hi4-T are part of, is exactly what Tim said there. It is the ability to drive these cars in pure EV mode. Now, for anyone who's thinking EV, thinking about range anxiety, that's not an issue with these products. If you think of this car here, 110 k's of pure EV range. The average commute in Australia is somewhere like 25 to 30 k's a day. So in many, many cases, you're able to drive one of these cars in pure EV mode without ever having to put fuel in, and possibly even only having to charge these things once, twice a week. And even when you do charge them, on a fast charger, they're going from 20 to 80, in a matter of 25, 30 minutes. So very, very quick recharge. Even if you don't have that charging infrastructure at home, plug it into a normal wall socket. Overnight, you're back to 100% charge, and you're not going to have to think about putting fuel in.
And then directly behind you and over your right shoulder, we've got a Tank 500 and a Tank 300 as well.
So again, two very, very important cars for us. And of course, the Tank 500 Hi4-T plug-in hybrid is sitting on this, which is our Hi4-T chassis, which Tim's going to talk to shortly. But again, it's our most recently launched car, the 7th new model for GWM this year. So again, amazing EV capability as it being a tank, amazing off-road as well, off-road capability, front and rear locking diffs. It is a beast, but not just that, it's a luxurious beast as well. So it's a flagship SUV, oozing of luxury and comfort, but superbly capable and efficient under the hood as well.
Yeah, I love how incredible that Tank 500 is, not only to sit in and to experience at that level of luxury, but also to take it off-road and see how capable it is.
Yep.
And then you could almost call it the little brother, the Tank 300, and how kind of like a cult icon, how quickly that's becoming a cult icon in the 4x4 world in Australia.
Yeah, so the 300 is really beginning to hit its stride now, and we launched the diesel powertrain in the Tank 300 around about April, I think, March, April, earlier this year. Since we've launched the diesel powertrain, sales have begun to grow. It's a fantastic powertrain for that car. Of course, we're here to talk today about Hi4 and Hi4-T and our newer technologies. Diesel remains important to us, and we continue to invest in it as per the announcement that 3-litre diesel will come to Australia. But equally, Hi4-T is a powertrain that's very much under consideration for this car. And again, at Tech Day, our dealers, our investors, and the journalists got their first chance to drive it.
Okay, and lastly, I don't know who to start with this one, but the van. One of these cars doesn't look like the other. You may have noticed this. What is it? And is it coming to Australia? Tell us about it.
Well, let me talk a little bit about the brand, and I'm going to throw it to Tim to talk about the car itself. So one of the other announcements that we made at Tech Day was that the Way sub-brand was going to be joining the GWM stable in 2026. Now, obviously with Canon, Haval, Tank, and Ora, Way will become the 5th sub-brand in GWM stable in 2026. Now, to try and position exactly where Way will sit within the lineup, if you think about Way as being a more luxurious, a more premium version of perhaps Haval or even Tank, it's going to sit atop the GWM range, and we've got a number of products, of course, and that's one of the ones that we're considering.
Yeah. So when we look at the Australian market right now, we only have one vehicle that is a 7-seater option for our customers, which is the Tank 500 HEV. And so when we look at it from that sense, we are looking at expanding the 7-seater option for our customers, and that's why this Way 80 behind us is in serious consideration, especially in the form of Hi4, the packaging and everything. It just makes sense for Australia.
So what makes it so luxurious, and what makes it stand sort of out from the crowd and above everything else?
Yeah. So with this vehicle, first of all, it comes in a 2-2-3 sort of seat setting. So the 2 captain seats in the middle. Normally you have just the front row seats that have all the features and all the functions. In that car, it's actually the second row where you get most features and most functions.
Really?
You get your reclining seats, you get massaging, heating, ventilated. You also get a massive screen. From memory, it was a 15-inch screen. And not only that, that vehicle has about 20 plus speakers audio system. And once again, it's all around the second row as well. So you can imagine it's just super nice in that vehicle as you're cruising down the road, down the highway.
Now, I love driving our product, as does Tim, but this is one car that I probably prefer to be a passenger in because it is business class, if not first class, in that second row. It's amazing.
When you say the seats recline, how far do they recline? Out of curiosity.
They basically, let's just say you can sleep on...
Very, very comfortably.
Like very comfortably on the seat, yes.
Okay. Now I see why you want to be driven around in between all your meetings going on. Okay. So let's talk now to Hi4 and Hi4-T technology, what it is, what it does, what it's all about. Because next to you, Tim, is the Hi4-T chassis.
Yes.
So we've mentioned it all the time. Why is it, A, so important to GWM? Why did you choose that as the platform to move forward with your product? And how does it differ from the competitors and kind of what's already out there on the market? Like, what makes this technology so good and so award-winning?
Maybe I'll talk to the point initially around why GWM chose Hi4, but then also Hi4-T to sit atop our powertrain pyramid. Now, thinking through GWM's history, GWM is 40 years old. Its heritage is in SUV, utility, but in 4x4 technology. So GWM has been honing its craft, becoming a technical expert in 4x4 powertrains for 40 years. What we're seeing here is 40 years of innovation, world-class engineering coming to the fore, and look, as you quite rightly said, we've now got award-winning technology in Hi4 and Hi4-T. Now, the reason GWM chose Hi4-T to be the pinnacle of its powertrain technology is for a couple of reasons. Now, we've got Hi4, Hi4-T, and Tim's referenced Hi4Z. We've got a number of four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive solutions that are designed to optimize efficiency and performance across a multitude of different driving scenarios and road conditions. If you think about Hi4-T, Hi4-T is the platform that sits beneath Tank. Tank is GWM's professional off-road range. So with that, we have to deliver best-in-class capability, best-in-class performance, best-in-class efficiency, and that's exactly what this does. So it combines an internal combustion engine with an electric motor, but most importantly, we retain a mechanical linkage linking the front axle to the rear. So even in the most demanding of off-road scenarios, you're still getting that one-to-one connection where other systems that are relying purely on software and motors front and rear, they're not going to give you the performance that this thing can.
So Tim, how can you add to that? Like, what makes this so incredible and capable of, you know, conquering Beer O'Clock Hill?
So one of the things about this setup with the Hi4-T setup is the fact that we are using a lot of the components and mechanical parts that we know are durable, that have been tested, and they are obviously reliable, which is why, and not only that, this is the only way to truly achieve real 4x4. So that means all four wheels can be spinning at the same speed. When you go into places like Beer O'Clock Hill and some area that are a little bit more extreme, that's when this system really shines and really sets it apart. And we have our Hi4Z technology as well, and internally we have done all of the testing, all the benchmarking and comparison. And as good as Hi4Z is, from a pure capability point of view, Hi4T is just the next level
From
up.
an off-road perspective.
From an off-road
yes.
perspective, correct.
Yeah.
And I know it comes up a little bit. People get concerned when it comes to water crossings with batteries and electrical elements. Is there an issue with Hi4T and Hi4 technology?
Short answer to that, Luke, and everyone watching is no. GWM has got amongst the largest R&D facilities and communities globally of any automotive OEM. Every vehicle that we bring to market is thoroughly tested across a whole multitude of things. With, of course, the advent of electrical systems, batteries, etc., they have to be tested equally as thoroughly as anything else on the vehicle. Now, one of the certifications we have on our Hi4, and particularly Hi4T technology, is a certification known as IP67. Now, what an IP67 certification gives you is a guarantee that the battery systems on this car, on the chassis that you can see here behind, they're certified to be able to be submerged in up to 1 litre of water for up to 30 minutes with absolutely zero ingress of water. So again, if you think about even the most extreme Aussie, Kiwi 4x4 you could be doing, you might want to be fording multiple streams or rivers in a day, you can be guaranteed that certainly this thing is capable of handling that. We've done testing on it in China, but not only have we done that, these systems have been tested here locally as well.
And that's so important for all of our, you know, Australian consumers. They love to know that what's been developed and brought to market is fit for Australian purposes.
Of course.
And Rob comes into play a little bit there too, with all of his tuning down at Lang Lang as well.
Yeah, and I think, Tim, maybe just in terms of the capability of that platform, talk a little bit again about range, talk a little bit again about EV mode and how that can work in 4x4 as well.
Well, let's first start about the capability. Remember at Tech Day at Lang Lang, that area for four-wheel drive, that four-wheel drive section, we actually got Lang Lang to build that for us to launch the Tank 500. And that section was designed to really wow people. And as they drive past that section, it just amazes everyone, including a lot of our dealers who, you know, they knew the car was capable, but they never thought it was that capable. So sometimes it's really hard to really demonstrate this in a 15-30 minute test drive at the dealership level. So that's why, you know, today we want to speak about this a lot. Apart from that, with your day-to-day, the Hi4T technology would offer approximately 100 kilometers, 100 to 120 kilometers of pure electric driving range. And as Steve has said, most Australians travel on average somewhere between 25 to 30 odd kilometers per day. So that is more than enough for an individual's daily need. So if you imagine the use case would be day to day, if you do a little bit more kilometers than your 20 and 30, it's still within 100, so you can still charge it at the end of the night. Even with, as Steve mentioned, plug it into the 10 amp charger, 3-point plug at home, you'll be back on 100% the next morning, and you'll be able to enjoy that EV driving again. Now, why is EV driving that, you know, amazing? First of all, it's a lot quieter in comparison to, you know, your standard diesel and whatnot. But then when you do occasionally, say, You want to go out and about, go on cruise over the weekend, and you're doing beyond that range, it's not a problem. You just keep driving, the engine will automatically kick in. As long as you have fuel, you're going to be able to stay on the road. A very quick refuel would get you another 600-700 kilometers. And if you get to charge and top up the electricity as well when you're having lunch or whatever on a road trip, then that means the Hi4-T will get you almost 1,000 Ks. So
that's Melbourne to Sydney and back with a full battery charge and one full tank of fuel. You're not going to have to stop if you don't want to. So again, that's the versatility that these systems certainly offer consumers.
And the choice that you're offering your customers, 100%.
100%. I think, you know, we talk again about choice a lot. One of the big advantages that GWM has over a number of its competitors is that we've got multiple options. Now, we're not forcing any consumer to say, if I want a GWM, I have to choose Hi4 or Hi4-T, or I have to think about EV. No, I want a diesel. We're giving consumers the option of all of them. Petrol is still there. Diesel is absolutely still being invested in. Hybrid, we're very, very strong in. Plug-in hybrid and EV. So 5, 6, 7, when we think about Hi4, Hi4-T, and Hi4Z powertrain options there, that certainly will stand GWM in good stead moving forward, but continue to give consumers in Australia and New Zealand choice.
I think also one more thing is the key benefit of Hi4-T or PHEV technology is the capability of doing V2L. Now, a lot of customers with their 4x4s and diesels and whatnot, after purchasing their car, they then spend another 5-6 grand on a battery system, inverters, etc., to have maybe 200. From memory, I think it was about 200 amp hour, which is significantly less than 37 kilowatt hour, which is what we have here. Like an average Australian home would only consume about 30 kilowatt hour a day. So that's how much battery electricity you're packing in the vehicle. Imagine driving this to the campsite over the weekend and then just extract power from the vehicle, like what we're doing today, doing V2L. You'll be able to run your induction cooker, you'll be able to run your kettle, you'll even be able to run your hair dryer and all of that stuff. For your hair, look.
Yeah, thank you.
But even that example, Tim, about, you know, if you were unlucky enough whereby your power was to go out of home and your energy company says, look, we're going to be 24 hours away from getting your power back on. If you have this technology sitting in your driveway, there's nothing stopping you running a lead from these systems directly into your home, and in many cases being able to power your entire home for 24 hours and sometimes longer.
It's good, so I can still get ready for work, still dry my hair.
And
Yes.
I'm a happy man.
As long as you have petrol, you're able to keep it running.
Excellent. I'd never even considered that scenario.
It's amazing.
Now, I know that there are a lot of questions already coming in based on what we've discussed, but before we get to them, and we will get to them very shortly, just quickly, we still have one more live stream to come in December to see out the year. But I just wanted to quickly touch on, obviously it's been a big year. What have we got that might be exciting for you both leading into 2026, which now is just around the corner?
Well, aside from Tim not getting any holidays for a while because he's got too much work to do, we're really upbeat. We're really, really positive about what's to come in 2026. As we said, this year is going to be a record, and that's kudos to the entire GWM team, our dealers, and of course, thank you to every single customer who's chosen GWM this year. Next year is going to be bigger. There is huge ambition within this company. We want to grow further. We want to continue to offer even more choice to our consumers here in Australia, but also in New Zealand. Our sales volume is going to grow, and that's going to come off the back of significantly more new product launches with amazing Hi4, Hi4-T, and potentially even Hi4Z technology in 2026. We said at the start of this year that we would launch up to 7 new products. The Tank 500 Hi4-T is the 7th new model that we've launched this year. Looking at our calendar, it will be at least the same again next year. We're going to continue to grow our dealer network and make sure that we've got full serviceability and accessibility for all our customers, regardless of where you live across Australia and New Zealand. We're here to stay. We're here to become one of the biggest brands, but we have to earn that. But certainly in 2026, that's our aim, through technology, through product, and through our dealer network.
It's going to be a busy year.
Well, we've reached that time. It is time for the Q&A session. And gentlemen, I can see there are plenty of questions and comments coming in. So get ready. All right, we're going to start with a shout out. First one from Greg. I love my Alpha. What a ute. Thank you, Greg. We always love,
Greg.
We love a good compliment. Okay. Now we've got one from Magnus who just wants some clarification on the difference of Hi4 and Hi4-T and where the names come from and what do they mean. And I know you also referenced Z as well. So can you talk to that?
Yeah. So first of all, let's start with Hi4, what it stands for. It stands for Hybrid Intelligent Four-Wheel Drive. And in the Hi4 system, it's a scalable system where it is suitable for small or medium-sized SUV to larger size SUV, as well as the Way 80 out there at the back there. So it's a scalable system where it's a decoupled system. And what decoupled system means is the front axle and the rear axle have no mechanical linkage. They drive independently. The front axle is driven by the engine as well as the front motor. The rear axle is only driven by the rear motor. Majority of the time, this vehicle works almost like a range extender. So the engine, most of the time, is using to top up the electricity. Or if you've been charging your vehicle, the vehicle will run majority of the time as rear-wheel drive. And when it needs to, it can also do front-wheel drive. The thing is, why it's called hybrid intelligent four-wheel drive is because all of this is working simultaneously in the background. It could be running in rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive at any certain time, and it just all depends on your acceleration, your input, your braking. Regeneration could also be front, rear, or both. So it's pretty smart. And Hi4Z works very similar to Hi4, but there are some key differences. For an example, the rear axle has 2-speed, so in a way you still have 4-low in the Hi4Z system to achieve your slightly more demanding four-wheel drive, but definitely nowhere as demanding as the Hi4-T can take. Hi4-T obviously runs the 9-speed automatic as well. So from a torque multiplication point of view, you can definitely get a lot more. And as I mentioned earlier today, the 4-wheel synchronized rotational speed, that you can only achieve in the Hi4-T.
And don't forget that T on the Hi4-T stands for tank. It's the tank professional off-road platform. And I think the Iron Intelligent, just to add to Tim's point, the systems in these vehicles in the Hi4 and Hi4-T and Hi4Z chassis are measuring real-world conditions, driving conditions, inputs from the vehicle hundreds of times a second. So the decisions being made, whether it's rear-wheel drive, front, all-wheel drive, and apportioning that from front to rear, those decisions are being made hundreds of times a second. So super intelligent, super responsive.
Excellent, great answer. Christopher, if you scored a Canon Alpha today, what's the first big bloody adventure, love it Christopher, that you'd take it on to give that electrical grunt and set up a fair dinkum test? Who wants to go first?
Tim, do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I definitely take it up Vic High Country. The scenery up there, just being surrounded by nature, and also, if I need to, I can just do V2L, have a bit of just barbecue or whatnot in the middle of nowhere. And it's not currently 5-band season, but even if you have 5-band season and you want to go camping and whatnot, you can still, cook your steak or your sausage or whatever.
Plus, as we've joked about, you've got no time off to drive up to Darwin or
Perth.
Tim can take some meetings on the go and power his laptop through V2L and stay busy, For me, I think, I've only ever been to the South Australian Outback once and absolutely loved it. It was many, many years ago in a basic sedan car, nowhere near as advanced as these things. I'd love to go back and try it with the technology of Hi4 and Hi4-T.
Awesome, great question, Christopher. The Bopper, hey, what a name. Will the H6 GT get the latest version of Hi4 in 2026?
Possibly. watch this space. Too early to confirm, but because we said lots of new product coming next year. Hi4 and Hi4-T will be a focus. Read into that what you will, but yeah, watch this space.
Okay, GWM Tank has asked, will the Tank Club have any WA events next year?
Great question. We've actually just finished our first New South Wales Tank Club event over the weekend. It was really, really well received. We had around 80 attendees at that. We are considering, certainly we're more than considering, we'd love to bring a Tank Club event to WA next year. Not yet locked in, but again, like the GT question, watch out. We'll certainly announce that on our socials and to our Tank Club members when that happens, but definitely on our radar for 2026.
And there you go. If you're watching in WA right now, like GWM Tank is, leave a comment. Get in their ear, let them know you want them to come to WA, because the more voices that they hear, the more reason it is to get out there. So make sure you let your voices be heard. Mark, always a shout out, love my Alpha PHEV. So does our director. Again, we're powering this whole setup off his V2L and his Canon Alpha. Absolutely loves it. Duncan has asked, how much has Beer O'Clock Hill contributed to sales? Ooh. And in a flat ute market, what brands are you taking sales away from? Duncan, fantastic question.
Great question, and probably the first part I would argue is almost impossible to answer. What we do know is that when Tim and the team took our tanks, our Canon up Beer O'Clock Hill and did what we did with those cars, breaking the internet probably isn't too far of an explanation, but yeah, the coverage, the feedback, the amount of commentary, the amount of engagement was one of the best pieces of content that certainly we as a brand has ever done. It's very, very hard to attribute that to a vehicle sale at the end of the day, but ultimately all the positive PR that we get, all the different ways in which we try and validate and prove the amazing technology on these vehicles, it definitely all plays into vehicle sales. To see how much, very, very hard to say. And sorry, what was the second part again?
The second part was, in a flat ute market, what brands are you taking sales away from?
We actually, we can measure that. I'm not going to start naming names, but what I can say is we're actually conquesting from most other brands out there. Some more than others. There's certainly, all you probably have to do is you have to look at the VFAX industry numbers. You can see the particular ute brands and models that are declining. It's fair to say the brands that are growing are probably taking share from a lot of them. But yeah, we're getting wide appeal, and we're seeing a pretty wide range of ute buyers from other brands coming to GWM.
Great question though, Duncan, really good. Okay, so another Beer O'Clock Hill question. Alex has asked, hi, tuning in after Beer O'Clock, what else does GWM have planned to show more of what your cars can do?
Fair to say, again, Tim's working on some really good ideas with Justin, our PR manager, who appeared a few episodes ago in the wider team. We've we've confirmed that we're going to have at least probably 7 new model launches again next year. All of those models require us as a marketing team at GWM with our agency partners and customers, etc., to go out and generate positive PR in the cars and to create content. Probably too early to say what we've got planned, but what I can say is that some of the products we're talking about are going to be launched in the not too distant future, and already we're very, very close to going out and filming content on a lot of those, which you're going to see across our social channels in the coming weeks, or at least month or two.
There you go. So it's happening imminently.
Indeed.
Peter, he's asked, what does the T and Z stand for in Hi4, but we've answered that one. David, do you have a date for when the Tank 300 plug-in is actually launching? I'm assuming here in Australia and New Zealand.
We do have a date, David, but we're not in a position to yet confirm it. Again, what I would say is it's not too far away. A car that we said is very, very much on our radar. The fact that we have got that car here, the fact that we've had the journalists and our dealers drive Tank 300 Hi4-T, you can, draw the conclusion from that it's not too far away. Again, look out for our socials, look out for announcements in the automotive press. We'll be making those announcements relatively shortly.
Excellent. Okay, here we go. Dave has asked, will the Canon Alpha plug-in hybrid get V2L power outlets in the tray that will be usable to power things like fridges, water pumps, etc.?
Yeah, so that is something that's a feedback that we've taken from our customers. And obviously as a PHEV, I can totally understand. It is something that we are working on. I can't exactly provide a timeline just yet, but it's definitely something we're working on.
There you go. Not 100% sure when, but it is coming. And again, that speaks to listening to customer feedback. Again, doing things like this. If you've got a question or a genuine idea, make sure you post it up in a comment, because it is being read by the GWM team, and you guys are legitimately taking on that feedback, and then we're seeing that in future product.
And it is that GWM brand motto of improving little by little every day. It could be something as unique or as small as the width of the steering wheel, right the way through to the development of a brand new 3-litre turbo diesel engine. That's how quickly this brand is moving, and certainly the question that was asked there is one of the items that we're looking at.
Yep.
Was there much feedback from the Australian journalists after Tech Day? Was there some themes or some resounding sentiments that you were hearing?
Look, I think the sentiment, when I say I think, I know the sentiment overall, and certainly anyone who's been out there and reading what the likes of Car Expert and Car Sales and Cars Guide and Drive and all the main publications and Wheels and Which Car have been saying is that they've all been amazed and impressed with the, number one, the scale of the event. The confidence with which GWM is now presenting itself to the market, but equally the rollout of new products, the rollout of that technology, but also the way in which that technology performs. And I believe our producer's been running some overlay during the live stream in terms of some of the activities we were running at Tech Day, and again, off the back of that, the feedback in terms of how this chassis, these vehicles performed has been massively positive. And again, with our ambitions to be top 5, top 3, eventually, hopefully within Australia, the technology and the product story is absolutely key. And part of the journey that we're on is we have to rely on the automotive media that buyers are going to potentially go to get that independent third-party validation on the way through. But certainly the feedback we've had, Luke, has been very, very positive.
Okay.
From a scale point of view as well, Tech Day, we had approximately 70 cars at the end. So yeah, it was a lot of logistic, but it was well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. SETI, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, has asked, is there a fleet program?
There is a fleet program. So at the moment, if you're looking for, if you're running a fleet, certainly we do have fleet offers, certainly on the GWM ANZ website. There is fleet pricing available on a number of our vehicles on the GWM ANZ website. So we urge you to go there, have a look. But certainly if you're running a fleet, we're certainly open for business at GWM.
Lloyd has asked, my H6 GT plug-in is so good and so much fun to drive. Sorry, you haven't asked, you've told us. Lloyd, thank you. It's one of my favorites to drive. I recently drove one to Canberra and I got out of the car feeling so refreshed. And I've driven a lot of cars and sometimes my hip or my knee will get sore. I jumped out of that. It's like, I could go again, do another lap. I agree, Lloyd. The 77. How does Hi4 technology compare to that in the Emoda 9? I know nothing about the Emoda 9. Tim, you probably know something.
Emoda 9 from memory is, their system is a lot more comparable to Hi4. So decoupled system as well. And I'm not 100% sure how the front motor differs, but I would imagine they have some sort of a direct drive as well. The one thing that's different or a bit unique to us is the front motor on the H6, as an example, does have 4-speed. So that means the engine can run power direct to the wheels in more ratio than a lot of other competitors. And therefore, a lot of competitors tend to use the engine just to top up the electricity or the battery and use it as a generator. So that's probably one of the key difference. But for any further details, I'm going to have to look into the competitor first.
All right, there's your homework now. Come back to us about the Emoda 9. Paul, how long does the V2L power for? If I have a long weekend away, will the car have enough juice? Okay, so how long does the V2L power last, or Yeah.
So for an example, if we're talking about the Hi4-T, the usable percentage is around 30 kilowatt hour. So if you think about drawing at 3 kilowatt, that's what 10 hours at full 3 kilowatt draw. So, and even if you run out by the end of that 10 hours running at 3 kilowatt, you have a button in the screen. All you need to do is just press it. When the percentage of battery run to a certain stage, it will just turn on the engine. The engine will run as a generator to continue provide and generate electricity until you run out of fuel, basically.
I was doing some research last night, just preparing for today, and was looking up what the average Australian household energy consumption is, and it's round about 15 to 17 kilowatts a day. So based on what Tim's saying, in theory, depends on what you're running, but in theory, it could be anywhere up to 2 days you could run a remote campsite for. It does depend on the usage, depends on exactly what you're powering, but in theory, the way the numbers stack up, you might get as much as 2 days out of it.
The key thing is with a battery pack this big, compared to any sort of aftermarket accessory batteries, this is significantly bigger and the output is significantly higher. So although your aftermarket accessories, you might be able to run an induction cooker, you won't be able to run it at full power like you can on the Hi4-T.
There you go. Great question, Paul. Anita, do we have a timeline for the Hi4Z launch?
No, we don't as of yet. Well, internally, we're working towards what that could look like, thinking about the right models to put that into. One of the roles that Tim works on for us at GWM as our product manager is working through the machinations and the different combinations of product and powertrain that we might choose to bring to market here in Australia and New Zealand. So that's one of the pieces of work that Tim is doing for us right now. But no, we don't have an answer yet. Again, like the earlier questions, watch our socials, watch the automotive press. We'll make announcements of that when we can.
Okay, we might have time for one or two more. A few more shout outs here, which is great. Jake has asked, what else is coming for GWM in 2026? Excited to see the Tank 300 plug-in. We need PHEVs more in the four-wheel drive space.
So again, we're not going to disclose today our full product
portfolio
calendar. I'm sure all our competitors would love to know as well. But look, suffice to say, Hi4 and Hi4-T are going to be very, very core to what GWM does in 2026 and moving forward. We've talked before about the new vehicle efficiency standards. That is GWM's solution to giving customers choice that is drivable, has great performance, great efficiency, but it's also one of the ways in which we believe that GWM is going to be even stronger in the years to come. Another car that we haven't talked about that we did confirm at Tech Day as well was the addition of a new mid-sized SUV called the Jolyon Max. We're still working through the name. It may or may not be called that, but if you think of another mid-sized SUV with plug-in hybrids and hybrid technology at the core, that's another car that you can expect to see next year. But beyond that, again, watch this space.
Okay, I have one final question then off the back of that before we finish up our Q&A session. Being at Tech Day and an avid motorcycle rider, there was a motorbike on display. What was that all about, and will that come to Australia?
Tim, do you want to talk a bit to the technical components of the bike, and then you can maybe answer the second part of that?
So there are a lot of cool aspects about that bike. So first of all, the name of the bike is Soul, and it's got a flat 8-cylinder engine. We've actually had someone in GWM taking it to like a bike fest, and it just wowed people. It's amazing. The sound it makes is just unique because competitors have like 6 cylinders, 4 cylinders, but not an 8-cylinder bike. When it fires up, man, it's just, even on Tech Day when it was fired up, as soon as Rob was revving it, we were in high-level execs interview and everyone just stopped and was like, what was that? Apart from that, there are a lot of cool things like a full aluminium body frame. The rear wheel is driven by a shaft rather than chain. A lot of technical stuff that are in the bike. Even things like blind spot monitor on a bike, heated seats on a bike, and what else? Rear collision warning, stuff like that.
Full digital screen, just
yes.
Incredible.
So,
and don't forget that this is a 2-litre 8-cylinder engine on a motorcycle.
Yes.
It's amazing to see.
Yeah. As to the question is, whether we'll see it here, again, the reason that we bring cars like the Tank 700 down and other models that we bring down regularly, that is for local evaluation. For us to talk to local journalists, talk to local dealers, get local feedback, test these things in local conditions and see whether we feel there might be a market for them. Too early to say yet as to whether we'll see that motorcycle down here, but again, the fact that we have brought it down, a couple of them down, is fair to say we're at least having a look at it.
Well, I know you love your motorbikes as well, mate, so keep pushing for us.
Indeed.
Gentlemen, we'll wrap up the Q&A session. It's been a fantastic chat. Thank you so much for your time and insights as well. The information is always on point and super valuable. And I know everyone watching at home or wherever you're tuning in from will have gotten a lot out of that conversation. Again, there were so many questions coming through. If we didn't have a chance to answer yours live today, don't worry, the team at GWM are going to be going through all the questions and comments and will respond to as many of them as they possibly can over the coming days. And remember, they're going to be picking out their favourite 3 and giving away these amazing Tank 500 models to their favourite 3. So watch the social space to find out who's going to be claiming one of those. Again, a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in. That's why we love doing these events and really forming and feeling this kind of part of GWM community. So thank you so much. It would be bitterly disappointing, I think, for all 3 of us if we were just talking to ourselves all the time.
No, the engagement is amazing and it makes it so worthwhile for us. So again, thank you for all the questions. Thank you for the engagement.
Steve, you mentioned the website a little bit earlier on. If you want to find out more about any of the models, or you want to even book yourself a test drive in one of these fantastic cars, just visit gwmanz.com for all the details. And make sure you keep an eye out on the social channels, not only to find out who's winning a model of the Tank 500, but also for future events, whether it be about the Tank Club, whether it be about future launches, or our final live Inside GWM event in December. That's where you'll find it all out first. So keep an eye across all of those, and we'll probably see you next in September. So until then, it's good night from us, and drive safe.